Hey everyone. So today, we're doing something a little different. We're going to treat the Bible less like a book to be read and more like like a cold case. We're diving into a historical mystery that's thousands of years old to figure out what was originally written. It's a real detective story.
I mean, let's just state the obvious. This book is a giant. Its impact on art, law, culture, you name it, is just impossible to overstate. It shaped the lives of billions, but the story of how this book got to us, the one you might have on your shelf right now, is way more complex than you probably think.
And here's the first big clue in our investigation. Every single Bible we have, in English, in the original Greek or Hebrew, it doesn't matter, is not a copy of the original document. Nope. It's a copy of a copy of a copy. Think of it like a photocopy of a photocopy.
That's right. The actual scroll that the Apostle Paul dictated, or the original manuscript of the Gospel of Mark, they're gone, vanished. What we have instead are thousands of handwritten copies made by scribes over hundreds and hundreds of years, and that is what creates this massive historical puzzle we need to piece together.
So this is the heart of the problem, right? If the originals are missing, how in the world can we have any confidence in what we're reading today? How do we know the text hasn't been completely changed over time?
Well, this is where our detectives show up. They're called textual critics, and their entire job is to analyze all those thousands of copies and work backward, clue by clue, to reconstruct what the authors most likely wrote in the first place. It's a fascinating mix of historical science and expert-level puzzle solving. So what do these detectives have to work with? You might imagine them in a dusty old room with just a few scraps of papyrus. But the reality is, it's the complete opposite. They are swimming in clues. For the New Testament alone, scholars have something like 6,000 ancient Greek manuscripts and fragments to study. It's what's known as an embarrassment of riches. We have more manuscript evidence for the New Testament than for pretty much any other ancient work of literature. It gives scholars a ridiculous amount of data to cross-reference and compare.
But here's the twist. Because for centuries, these texts were copied by hand, letter by letter. Mistakes were inevitable. A scribe gets tired and skips a word, or he mishears something being dictated. Sometimes they'd even try to fix a sentence that they thought was confusing. So that mountain of evidence is also a mountain of tiny little differences.
And these differences have a name. They're called variants. A variant is just any spot where one copy says one thing and another copy says something different. The whole job of the textual critic is to look at all the variants for a specific verse and figure out which reading is the original and which ones are the later changes.
Now, to figure this all out, the critics don't just flip a coin. They have a really sophisticated set of logical principles, a kind of detective's toolkit that helps them evaluate the evidence and make the best possible judgment. Their evidence basically falls into two buckets. First, there's external evidence. This is like the forensics of the case. How old is the manuscript? Where did it come from? Some manuscript traditions are known to be more careful than others. Then you have internal evidence. This is more like psychological profiling. You look at the words themselves. What's the author's usual style? Does this sound like something he would actually say? And they follow some key principles based on simple human nature. For instance, go with the harder reading. Why? Because scribes tended to smooth out clunky phrases, not make them clunkier. Or prefer the shorter reading, because scribes were much more likely to add a little explanation than to cut words out. And the big one, which reading best explains how all the other readings came to be? Okay, that's enough theory. Let's put this toolkit to the test with a real-life example. This is probably the most famous textual puzzle in the entire New Testament. What's going on with the ending of the Gospel of Mark? Okay, so in our oldest and most reliable manuscripts, this is it. This is the last verse. The Gospel of Mark just stops. The women find the empty tomb, they're told to go tell the disciples, and instead they run away terrified and say nothing. It's so abrupt. It's kind of a weird and unsettling ending, right? But if you go pick up most Bibles today and turn to Mark 16, you'll find 12 more verses that describe Jesus appearing to people and giving the Great Commission. So we have two totally different endings. Which one did Mark actually write? Well, let's use the toolkit, the external evidence. Our oldest and best manuscripts all stop at verse 8. The internal evidence, the writing style, the vocabulary of those last 12 verses, it just doesn't match the rest of the book. And it perfectly fits what we know about scribes. A later scribe probably thought, no way, this ending is too weird, and tacked on a cleaner, happier conclusion. The evidence is pretty overwhelming.
So after doing this kind of mini investigation thousands and thousands of times,
what's the final verdict on the Bible we read today? Can we actually trust it?
And this is really the key takeaway. Yes, there are thousands of variants, but the vast majority of them are things like spelling errors or swapping the order of two words, stuff that doesn't change the meaning at all. As scholars are quick to point out, not a single core belief or doctrine of Christianity is affected by any of these textual variants.
So, far from undermining the Bible, the work of these textual detectives actually does the opposite. It gives us incredible confidence. Because of their painstaking work, we can hold the Bible in our hands today and know that it is a remarkably accurate reflection of what was originally written all those centuries ago.
So this whole process gets us as close as humanly possible to the original words. But those words were written in ancient languages in a totally different culture. So that leads to the next investigation. How do we bridge that gap? How do we get from the ancient words to the modern meaning? Well, that's a case for another day.